وسلم حسين مني وأنا من حسين. Hussein is the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بسيد الشهداء أبا عبد الله الحسين عليه السلام. We are blessed to have the dear brother on this program, Hajj Mohammed Taleb. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you going, bruv?
Alhamdulillah wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Speak to us, man. Alhamdulillah, not too bad. How's things? You know, this year it's a bit different, man. We're in lockdown. What's your programs looking like?
Yeah, man, it's a bit tough. Last year we were blessed and everyone else was in lockdown doing online programs, and now it's the other way around. This year we're doing the online programs and everyone else is overseas is at the Husseyniyat and the mosques. So it's a bit tough. We're currently doing our program with Husseyniyat Sayyida Zainab. But we've actually spoke to a few other centers, and we were happy to, you know, combine, and they can use whatever they can if they want to record with us. Yeah, so we're happy to do that too.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, we had brother Ali on the 1st of Muharram, and he came on and basically said of the you know, the platform that you guys have had and the struggle that he's had last year and in previous years and trying to get people in as well. And alhamdulillah, last year, man, barakallah fikum, that's when I got to know you guys a bit more, because I appreciated the work you guys had. And, you know, I was waiting on the second to make sure my ticket was booked. Talk to us about that experience and, you know, barakallah fik, how many majalis you had put in, you know, you backed up time and time again. How was that from yourself? And this year it's going to be a bit different.
Yeah, this year's much easier. It's got that comfortability of the online programs. Last year, look, man, honestly, with me, when I go into this month, like it's different, like different mentality, different energy. So when someone comes and says, you know, oh, you're doing 1, 2, 3 majalis, you know, per night, it's when I leave the majlis, I actually like, how do I do that? It's not from me, to be honest. that's how I view it. But alhamdulillah, man, it worked out. There were some setbacks with the amount of people and whatnot, especially on the 10th day. But you know, being where we are, we have to follow the rules, and we didn't want to do anything to sort of tarnish the reputation of the place that we were using. So, but alhamdulillah, it worked out. It was tiring, don't get me wrong, but as I said, man, you go in there, it's just a different energy. You don't know, like me as personally, I don't know where I get it from. Like it just happens. And I always, every year this happens, I sort of get nervous and I panic before Muharram. I'm like, oh man, my voice is gone. And you can ask brother Ali, same thing. Every year is the same thing. He's like, oh man, relax, calm down, don't worry about it, you'll be fine. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, my voice is gone, I'm very tired. And then the first day comes, I'm like, oh, okay, where did that come from? And it just happens. And I'm telling you, it's not from me.
Subhanallah, man. Look, you're just being a humble brother, you know, leave the talking for me. You know, you continuously turned up last year, and honestly, we're all in debt to that, because we all yearn to come, man. You know, like we've said on the program the previous night, you know, no matter who you are, where your background's from, when Majalis of Abba Abdullah al-Hussein are on, you know, no matter what you've done throughout the year, we're coming, we're turning up, you know, and that's a miracle, and one of the only miracles that I know I can possibly say that I've experienced, you know. And yourself, what was your introduction to the Majalis of Abba Abdullah al-Hussein and your journey as a khadim? How did that start? What inspired you? And what are your first fond memories of that?
Thinking back, man, to be honest, I I lived in Lebanon for roughly around 8 or 9 years. So obviously I had to get in line with the Arabic, and I caught up, and I learned Arabic. And throughout the years, I'd always go with my father without fail, as you said, always to majalis. And I was overseas, obviously in Arabic, it's all Arabic. So, and most of it is usually like Iraqi lingo. And I don't understand. When I was a kid, I didn't understand it, but you can feel it regardless. But it would have been nice to understand it. So when we moved back here, sort of had a bit of a downfall, but in that downfall, it sort of helped me in that sort of rhythmic and musical sense. And then by, I think, 2014, like I used to do recitations here and there, Latham, wasn't really much into it, but whenever I was asked, at the mosque, I'd do it. It wasn't a problem, but it wasn't an ongoing thing. It was just like a sort of last resort. I think 2014, I remember, I got my first break. But between 2013 and 2014, I used to sit with a friend of mine, and we're like, man, we need to sort of make the Arabic majalis similar to English and write in the sort of the same manner, or the way that they recite it, the actual story and the poetry and all that, the same as Arabic. It'll be interesting. And it was a good idea. So then we started, we gathered all these books, and then night after night we'd sit there, till 1, 2 in the morning, translating, finding interesting stories that we've never heard of, that are actually there, and focusing on things that aspects, like sort of opening up the story more than what we used to hearing, other interesting things, connections or things like that. And then we started translating them and then putting them in sort of like a same as the Arabic form, where they begin with the poetry and then they go into the storytelling, and then throughout the majlis, sort of like the poetry conversations that, what if, imagine this happened and imagine that happened. They're very like heart-wrenching imaginations and sort of poems. And it's like I sort of tried, thank God that I know Arabic, I try to, as much as I can, if I find a very interesting Arabic poem, I try as much as I can to keep the English literally like exactly the same sort of meaning, or even word for word, so the feeling is not lost. I know Arabic has more feeling. It's just a different language, but that's why we try to make the English as close as possible to the Arabic that we write. And it's like I go back and forth. Mainly the story writing was like in English, but the poetry, you always have that crowd that knows, a bit of Arabic, and they know what you're talking about. So we keep them happy, and then we keep also the people that don't understand Arabic happy as well, in the same. And that's where it sort of started building. 2014, I introduced all that stuff, like literally straight got into it, experimented. So like, is this thing going to work? And then I think it was like the first night, I remember it was, people didn't know what was going on. We gave it a test run. There was probably 100 people, 150 people. Next night, it just doubled, like 300 people. By the 10th night, because, word of mouth, people like, man, there's a place that's doing majalis and it's literally like Arabic, but I understand everything that's happening, like word for word. And there's interesting parts that I've never heard of. I didn't know, for example, that this person is the cousin of this enemy and, related to this guy, and this happened and this happened and this happened previously. Because we'd like to sort of, look, I'm a movie buff, and it's essential to have like a sort of the backstory for the character. You can't just throw a character in there and expect everyone to cry, So we sort of go back in time, and in the majlis, back in time, literally break down this character, and then you understand his background until the moment of his martyrdom, or the battle. And then people were like loving that, the details, the mix between Arabic and English, and they could come to a majlis and understand everything. Like especially the youth here, they're not really that into Arabic, I want to say.
It's because it's not in
just,
our curriculum, the Arabic here. And look,
Yeah,
God bless you and ajarakumullah what you have done, because it's almost like the English people and the English, we're growing up in Australia, so English is our first language. It's almost like we're neglected and put to the back bench, because we're not catered for all these programs. Then you come along in 2014 and see, okay, this is really needed. We now need to cater to the next generation, because the youth is the most important thing. And,
That's right.
a lot of the people in these organizations, they're stuck in the old systems and they don't want to evolve and change with time. That's something I respect with your projects and the Latam and the initiative to continuously be of a service to Abba Abdul Hussein, but evolve with the time.
Yeah, that's right. Like if you were to go to any mosque or center, you'd find that there's more youth than, or even in the community, there's more youth than the oldies, with all due respect to our elders. But, at the end of the day, reality is reality, and, they're going, and this future generation of youth, they're going to be stuck. Like, okay, you guys insisted on staying with these same programs, and where do we go from here?
Most
So
definitely.
we tried to, we that's where we try to cater. But at the same time, like, I do encourage, our youth to learn Arabic. I do encourage our elders to teach their children Arabic. At the end of the day, it's the language of the Quran. And before Muharram and before Ashura and before Karbala, before all these things, that's fine. But at the end of the day, the source is Arabic. And if you don't read that book and you just leave it on the shelf, what's the point? It's your book.
Most definitely. And look, and that's the beauty of, the stance of Abba Abdullah Hussein. Now, there's many lessons. Now, if you wish to, like we had the last night, we had Sheikh Nami on, and we discussed the process from the Holy Prophet. The Sunnah of Rasulullah was to cry for Abba Abdullah, and he prophesied that. And it continued until what had happened from Imam Ali to Imam al-Hassan to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Based on what we're saying, we look at Imam Ali Zain al-Abidin, post Karbala, it might have been one of the toughest times to galvanize the Muslim Ummah. And how he did that was exactly with the youth. He had the servants work in his house, and, they got to a certain level and he released them into the public. They went to preach. They came back and they're like, we're not having much success. He's like, well, why aren't you having that success? The elders are, they're saying, the old people. It's like, don't worry about the elders. Go to the youth. Because isn't the youth, like Imam Ali alayhi salam says, like uncultivated land? You can get to them. They haven't hardened like these oldies do. And then you would know yourself, if you were to look at the 10th of Muharram, you got Habib ibn Mudahir, who's of the age or older than the Holy Prophet. And you've got Tifl Radhi'. So we all have our part to play. So talk to us about that and the youth in Karbala. What did they play? What role did they play? And how did the elders also tell them, we have a job, you have a job, let's do it together?
Well, you had everyone had a role. And when I say the elders, you had elders even that were against Imam Hussein, and then they end up bringing, like Zuhair, he was an enemy of Imam Ali, like he fought Imam Ali in the Battle of Jamal. And yet still to this day, no one knows the conversation that happened between him and Imam Hussein. And yet he became one of the people that was crying out, if we were cut into 1,000 pieces and then our pieces burn and then our ashes scattered, we will die for you 1,000 times more. I don't know how he got there, but everyone, as you said, had their role to play. Even the youngest, Tifl Radhi', they say he actually moved. He moved his neck to protect his father. Like everyone went into that battle in defense of their Imam, just like we should be in defense of our current Imam.
Most definitely.
That was the Imam of their time. And even Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam stood up, and he was leaning on the sword, and he told his father, let me fight. He goes, no, you'll have your time. And as you said, his time came to shine. There was a lecture I was listening to once, and he said a very interesting sort of analogy. He goes, how come every imam, sort of had a different mission? Some imams fought, some imams, spread knowledge, some imams, all that stuff. He said it's like a chandelier. The source, the light bulb, is like the prophet, and it's like on the outside it's all different colored glass pieces, and he goes, each glass reflects on the light on the wall a different color. He goes, that's like the imams, they all had a different mission, just like each character in Karbala had a different mission. You even had the women, like Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. She was the pinnacle
Most
of
definitely. And
of the mission.
It's inspiring also because, as well, our Karbala could be every moment that defines us in our life. Whether it's exiting the house and being a representation, whether it's conducting yourself. And a lot of people do cry victim and say, us Muslims, we're judged harsher, we're looked at, with a scope, and might be true. However, you look at the akhlaq of Al Muhammad, and we do billati hiya ahsan, and we continue to, be the moral exemplars that we are. It's because of the people that we take our madhab from, and we're representation. If I'm not mistaken, Imam al-Sadiq says, if you're a Ja'fari, you actually have to conduct yourself to a higher standard and a higher echelon, and not play the victim card that many people do. Because, like you said now about Sayyidina Zainab, after all that happened, she lost all her loved ones, and she says in the court of Sham, "Ma ra'aytu illa jamila." Talk to us about that stance, Hajj, about the struggles and calamities that al-Masa'ib had, and how she was the pillar and backbone to give us the message that we have today.
As you said, when Imam Sadiq says in his hadith, you show you are a follower of us through your actions, not your tongue. Because a lot of people these days, a lot of the youth these days, they dangle the sword. Yeah, I'm 313. I'm a follower of Imam Ali. It's all by tongue, not by action. And that's yeah, fair enough. Maybe the intentions are there, but action and intention go hand in hand. Action without intention and intention without action, so they go hand in hand. So the youth need to show through action. Like, you're right, there's a lot of people that cry out victim, and I'm Muslim, that's why I'm being persecuted, whatever. But I've been in many situations, for example myself, where I conduct myself respectfully, whether it's with authorities or at work. And even at work, like, people respect me, and there's not many Muslims at my work. Like, oh, you know what, I pray, they're like, oh, close the door, let you pray. They respect it, because I follow my religion accordingly. But you can't, as Sayyidah Fatima in her sermon says, she brings up the Quranic verse, do you believe in parts of the book and disbelieve in others? We can't take and choose what we want, and then call yourself a follower of Ahlul Bayt. Just like Sayyidah Zainab, going back to Sayyidah Zainab, the reason why she says those lines of I saw nothing but beauty, ma ra'aytu illa jamila, is because, as I heard Sheikh Taz once saying, he goes, she understood the true meaning of La ilaha illallah. She understood the real meaning behind the words La ilaha illallah, all right? The oneness of God. She understood the depth of the meaning. They enacted, those words that they recited, in their prayers, in their Quran. They enacted them. And that's why she could comfortably say, stand there, head held high, and say, I see nothing but beauty. Because even they say that Sayyidah Zainab, like with all the weakness and whatnot, she carried Imam Hussein's body. She lifted it and she goes, she asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's like, are you satisfied? Take until you are satisfied, and take from us this small sacrifice. You know, that's because she understood literally the epitome of our religion, like Tawheed. She understood the meaning of La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah.
100%. And even when you see, going off that, Imam Zain al-Abidin, when he speaks of his auntie Zainab, he says, Amma Zainab, alimatun ghair muallima wa fahimatun ghair mufahima, which shows she had asma. Okay, it's asma al-sughra, but nonetheless, she conducted herself and saw and continued that patience and sabr and held the message, because even in the moments after Abu al-Fadl had passed, and we know the position of Alamdar when the flag bearer goes, it's Abu Abdullah with Zainab. When he tells her, Al-an qasara dhahri, he's almost, you know, expressing his love and gratitude to his sister, and that responsibility that even Sayyidah Fatima gave. Because if I'm not mistaken, when Abu Abdullah leaves to go to the battlefield, Abu Abdullah usually sees them all off, and then Zainab runs after Abu Abdullah and gives him the wasiyah of Sayyidah Zahra and tells him and kisses him on his neck and bids him farewell. So a lot of the responsibility was on this individual, and it's a lesson for us and the females in the community, especially in tough times, because no doubt Islamophobia is a thing, and no doubt that it's not easy to wear the scarf. And I've never been one to say, you got to wear this, wear that, wear this. Look, no matter the struggles you have, they're the struggles you're going to face. But look at Zainab. Can you tell me that your struggles are greater than Zainab? And that's how I found the message, because growing up, I knew not much. The only thing I probably knew was there's 10 nights of Muharram, and I went and I'm like, I love this. And that's probably the only 10 nights I would say I went in the year, other than probably Eid al-Fitr, because my stomach was rumbling and I wanted to have some breakfast. But it's a message of Karbala, and it's a holistic message, because talk to us about what, you know, how it's impacted your life. Because for me, I relate everything to that stance in the lead up and the aftermath and during. And I always tell myself, look, put things into context, man. You're never going to appreciate that struggle.
Okay. There's one thing that you mentioned that I dislike very much, is that many people, when you come up to them and you talk to them, they tell you, but I'm not, Imam Ali, I'm not Sayyidah Fatima, calm down on me a bit, let me work things out. But wait a second. Okay, that's fine. You're shooting for the stars here when you're saying, I'm not Imam Ali, I'm not Sayyidah Fatima. But as you said, Sayyidah Zainab was not infallible from God. Abu Fadl Abbas was not infallible from God. They, Asamu Nafsun, they became infallible themselves. Asma Dhatiyah. So even, for example, you have other examples like Hur, Zuhair, as I said before. There's many examples. Even there's Wahab, the Christian. They saw the bigger picture. That's a problem. It's because we're so desensitized, and we're so our minds are clouded by today, that we don't see the bigger picture. We don't see tomorrow, and it's inevitable. Tomorrow is going to come, whether we like it or not. And yeah, everyone disregards that. There's so many lessons, honestly, to be taken from Karbala, and that is what sort of brought me back. Just like you, I used to go to the majalis, but I used to listen, but I never used to hear it. I was just, a young kid, Yeah, it was a cultural thing. Yeah, everyone's going to Ashura, everyone's going to Muharram. Let's go. We don't want that. That's the thing. That's why we started these English programs. We don't want you to go and just, listen, that's it, and go home. That's it. Yeah, we don't want that. We want you to take the lessons from each character. Take the lessons, like there's so many lessons. There's brotherhood, there's sisterhood, there's parenthood, there's Quran, there's the religion of Prophet Muhammad, everything, friendship, everything is embodied in Karbala, everything.
I agree.
Every
The only thing where I sympathize and I actually understand where the greater community come from is because we struggle to connect, like something like, growing up, anyone who became successful growing up, and you became Michael, you became Adrian, you became Luke, you became Sam, you became whatever you wanted. And these are the people we looked up to because these are the people who had power. These are the people who had positions. They couldn't tell us anything because they inherited religion like most people do. And as you know, with religion, you have to acquire religion. It's not something that, is given to you. And also the people that do sit in these religious centers and mosques, I'm not talking any specific, I'm saying in general, they do sit on their high horse and they have their little entourage and they don't come out to the streets. They don't go to the youth. They're not on social media. They don't cater to the audience. So yeah, look, there was a time where I was turned off, I thought they looked like they were from Pirates of the Caribbean, the extras. I thought they were like, you look funny, you shake my hand like you're dying, like relax, bro. I thought Amir al-Mu'mineen was the lion of Allah. I thought he trained. I thought, if I recall, there was a time where someone knocked on Sayyid Zahra's door and said, your husband's dead. And she obviously knew that he's not going to pass. It's because he had fainted from excessive training. I know for himself, he was humble, but on the battlefield and in public, conducted himself in a manner that was, above standards. And and it's not what we see. So as a youth growing up, I went through every struggle that everyone did. You did yourself. So that's what we keep it real. We understand that. But once they actually get the true message, talk about yourself. Like once you got the true message, how did that impact your life?
I literally cut everything from my old life. I said, that's it. Because it's an oath that I have to make. Just like everyone else, makes that oath of allegiance to the Imam. I made an oath to myself. That's it. I'm literally cutting everything, whether it's, old habits, old, I loved my friends, as friends, but, they were bad. They were a bad influence. Everything, the places I went, I sort of, even like at work, there's certain functions and whatnot. They started knowing that, oh, okay, you don't go because, there's certain things happening there that, you dislike. And no, it's part of my religion. I can't be there, because of those actions. Old friends understood, they're like, okay, you went down that way, respect that. Everything, habits, music, all those things had to change. When it came to speaking of music, that's when I'm like, you know what? With the youth, I'm sorry to say this, but it does get boring, you hear the same things over and over again. That's why I struggled for many years to find someone, that understood what I wanted to do, to cater to the youth in English. There's a lot of guys out there, alhamdulillah, they do a good job now. Lately, they've been getting into it the past couple of years, that are sort of transitioning like the Arabic into English stuff, and very nice things, very nice messages, very nice like Miyat, like Mullah Ammar and Nashid and a few other guys. So yeah, I wanted to bring a sound that's not boring, so you can actually listen to something nice. Because I understand, I've been there, and when say no, there's a boring track, whatever, next. But I wanted someone to actually listen to like a whole album non-stop, like it's good from start to end, and at the same time get a message. So all these things, like I pick up on them, with the youth, like what are we missing? And even things that, because I'm not a speaker, you can tell I'm not the best at speaking. I'm just a storyteller.
Being humble, mate. He's being humble. That's part of these religious people. I'm the troll. I'm the one who talks the talk, and they're all the humble ones. So I'll talk on behalf of them. Yeah, but keep going. Sorry.
Any ideas that we have, in like a gathering of boys, we put a brainstorm, put together, like, let's get this sheikh. We'll call the sheikh. We'll say, can you speak about this issue? We have this issue in the community that no one touches on. So we do honestly work in the background and try to help as much as we can. Maybe it's not, seen that much, but we actually do care about the community. We care about the youth. Even I remember, I'm not saying this honestly to shed light that I'm some superhero or whatever, but you got to make the youth feel like they're welcome. And you know that for a fact, as you were saying, you know, the Pirates of the Caribbean dudes, because I was like that too. Like I used to be afraid to, you know, walk up to like a scholar. I don't know. I just used to get so nervous. I'm like, oh my God, he's a scholar. No, I can't talk to him. And I just run off. Or I try to do the quick shake and run off, because they sort of make it feel like that. Like, you know, I'm here, you're here. No one that comes there's only very few scholars that come down to the same level as the youth, and, you know, sit amongst them. I know that there's a few sheikhs in the community that, God bless them, they understand the youth. They're always around the youth, you know. But I remember, I think it was last year or the year before, I walked out and I saw a gathering of boys. Alhamdulillah, they're beautiful young guys, always, you know, also working, you know, for the community from the youth side. And I just came up to them and I go, boys, anyone want to hang out? My house is open. Welcome, all of yous. You want to hang out, talk about things like this, you know, things that we can't have, you know, we don't have time to speak to you guys about on the mic, you know, things that are maybe you're embarrassed to say, you know, in front of others, you know, in public. My house is open. Let's go down, have a chat. And yeah, we started doing it like after, you know, you think the majalis were tiring. It was what the aftermath of the majalis that was even more tiring. We'd go home and, you know, have a gathering of boys and we start talking about things, and it just the snowballs. We start getting into it. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. But that's how we sort of keep the message alive. You make it, don't make it boring. Like, we make it interesting. We get people like on the level. We talk, have, you know, that's fair enough. Have a laugh, whatever. But as well, you know, remember, always have that remembrance of Ahlul Bayt in your gatherings, and they'll always be blessed.
100%. And guys, that's a hadith from Imam Sadiq, if I'm not mistaken. Ahyu amruna, rahim Allah man ahyu amrana. And,
Correct.
you know, part of this platform as well is, you know, yeah, I'm a bit quirky. I know some might think I'm controversial or whatever, or weird or funny. But any guest I've had on, and if it's from News Limited or if it's from Fox Sports or if it's an athlete, I don't shy away from who I am. If I can slip in a hadith, and if it makes sense within the context, I most definitely will. And, you know, whatever I have to say, I'll say it. And I feel a lot of people, once they have a platform or once they have a position, kind of forget that. So, like you said, what you are doing, you know, I feel we all have a part to play. You know, I might not be in most circles. However, I feel that whatever circle you are, you can keep that same energy, you know. And
Correct.
like you said, with your tracks, you've kept that energy and you've actually come and produced. Talk to us about the production, because I play your track over and over about 1,000 times until I move on to the next one. And I'm definitely looking forward to the Zainab one.
There's no advertisement, but yeah, it's coming in the next few days. Just waiting on the video clip to get finished by Loft Productions. Man, I came across, see, this is another very interesting point, and thank God that you asked me this, all right? So there was a guy in the community, you know, a very similar sort of background to me, all right? The music, you know, love doing that, you know, it's entertainment, stuff like that. He messaged me out of nowhere. And mind you, for years, ask Ali, brother Ali, all right? For years, we've been looking for someone that can produce our kind of stuff, and understood, you know, if I came to him with this idea, he goes, don't worry, leave it to me, I've got this, you know? Because you can't go to, like, for example, non-Muslim or non-Arab and tell him, all right, I want this and I want this beat on time, you know, I want the chest hit right there. I tried it before, it was bad. It was really bad. So yeah, this kid comes along and he messages me out of nowhere. He goes, man, what do you think of this? I love this Latmiya that you always do every year. And I sort of done a rendition of it in studio. And I heard it, I'm like, bro, this is actually pretty good. I actually love it more than the actual original. And he goes, yeah, I like doing it. I'm like, you know what? Brother's name is Sami Dabeja, the producer that, you know, is always on the tracks. God bless him and his family as well for allowing us to annoy them with our voice repeated in their house. Okay, you know what? Let's sit down. I want to make an album. I want to make a properly produced album, not some just quick thing that just chuck out there. So, and you know, the kids listen to it and they love it, they understand it. You know, even the young kids, I got like 3-4-year-olds that know my old album off by heart, and then the parents are like, please man, just make something new, because I am really sick of this city. It doesn't work anymore. They've ruined it. Said, let's do this, you know, and let's make it happen. He goes, yeah, no worries. I get there and he's showing me this old stuff. I'm like, bro, you know what? It's like Imam Hussein just called you and he said, he told you, messaged me, and let's make this happen. And I swear, ever since then, the kid is just, he's a magician, man. Like a magician. Come write up something and just, he comes down, spends days, you know, to perfect this thing. And God bless him, man. Like the last one, Zainab track, I swear, I think yesterday I woke up at 9 o'clock. I look at my phone and I have a WhatsApp message from him, and I seen the last scene at 6 a.m. I'm like, this guy actually spent all night cranking this thing in his house while his family's sleeping, trying to get the, you know, the perfect sound. And he just messaged me, he goes, done. And I was expecting, you know, a few days, and he goes, I have to do this before Muharram starts. Let's do it. And God bless him, man. And yeah, and then now he's, we're just always in contact. You know, he's got like some religious issue or whatever, messages me, he's like, can I do this? You know, what do you reckon of this? What does Marja say about this? So I got him, bro, message me anytime. But see what I mean? Like it's that door is opened and he just walks straight through it. And he's slowly leaving his old life behind. And that's what I'd love to see from other youth in the community as well, you know. Don't be embarrassed. That's a problem. A lot of people alienate people that have some knowledge. I'm not saying they're so knowledgeable, but if someone in the community, you know, comes with this, like, let's say, as you say, hadith, like chucks a hadith in a Sahara, whatever, relax, man, this religious one, now he's Ayatollah, as if it's something like embarrassing. And then the person's like, you know what, I don't want to be that guy in the group when everyone points at me, the religious guy. And then they feel embarrassed to go there. It's not just the people. Like, there's a lot of youth that want to, but it's that gathering around them that alienates them and makes them feel like ashamed to bring the remembrance of Ahlul Bayt in gatherings.
It's true, man, because it does become a bit of a lonely journey. And, you know, once you reflect upon the hadith going off that, Amir al-Mu'mineen has a hadith, Man ashara ma'hum 40 yawm fasara minhum. You are the product of your environment. And, you know, sometimes like the Holy Prophet did, you know, you can leave. You know, he did migrate from, obviously, Mecca to Medina. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you know, it's not, Ard Allah wasi'ah. So you can move from place to place. You don't have to, just because you grew up with certain people, hang around them. And, you know, once you strengthen your character and your personality, because for me, religion is all about, you know, actualizing your potential, being the best person you could possibly be. And going back to what we mentioned earlier, Ansar al-Hussein, you know, when Zuhair ibn al-Qayn was mentioned, Zuhair obviously was a Uthmani, according to many narrations, who then finds the path of Abba Abdullah, because that story is Abba Abdullah's caravan parks up near Zuhair's caravan, and Abba Abdullah goes to ask for Zuhair. Now, Zuhair shows no interest. It's his wife, Daylam, who says, you know, listen, he's the son of Fatima. I give him about 2 minutes at your time. It's the least you could do. He goes, he gives him time, and, you know, the Abba Abdullah, the blessed soul he was, inspired Zuhair. Zuhair then jumps on board. We can all be Zuhair. You know, every year Muharram comes, all we need to do is hold on to one message, and then that'll ignite the light. And once your intention's there, you know, the barakah of Abba Abdullah, he'll do the rest. You know, and Zuhair then goes on, he leads the right-hand side of the army. It's Abul Fadl in the middle, Zuhair, and then Habib and Mudahir. So everyone has a role to play. And don't ever feel that you have done too much or you've done too little. It takes a moment, you know, and Imam Hussein's there, and the barakah of Abba Abdullah, well, is there anything like that?
You're speaking of? That moment that you're speaking of is that moment that Paul speaks of. He says it's just a moment, one moment. Even Umar ibn Sa'd, one moment. He knew who Imam Hussein was, for example. You know, that one moment, he goes, do I want this or do I want that? And that we, in a sense, we are that character, you know. There's like that line, and then am I willing to cross it and go there? Do I want this? Do I want Ard al-Ray, those lands that I was promised? And mind you, Imam Hussein told him, you're not going to smell one piece of wheat from that land. Like he promised him. He goes, do I want this or killing the son of Fatima, which might end up, you know, leading me to hell? Nah, you know what? And he made a poem about it. You know what? That's later. Let's worry about the now that we were talking about. The now. People are stuck in the now.
That arrogance part, a lot of people share that. I'll do tawbah after. I'm going to go to the club. I'm going to go to this party, and I'm going to retire from partying next week. Next week comes, next week after. If you reflect on the events that you just mentioned, Umar ibn Sa'ad had the exact same thought. Never got there.
That's right.
You know, because of the promise you said that Abba Abdullah had. And the irony of that is once he goes back to Yazid to claim what he was promised, he goes, I just killed Hussein al-Sharif. Give me my land. He goes, if he was a Sharif, what did you kill him for? Didn't give him nothing. You know, exactly what Abba Abdullah promised him, he didn't get. You see that same thing happening with when Muawiyah promised Imam Hassan alayhi salam's wife, if you were to poison al-Hassan ibn Ali, I'll give you my son Yazid. After he did that, he goes, you killed the Imam and you want me to give you my scum of a son? I'm not that stupid. So it's history repeats itself there. And, you know, for the brothers that are watching or anyone who wants to take anything from this little convo we're having, it's that, you know, you don't want to fall victim to the oppressors of yesteryears because they said the same thing you're saying.
Correct. One thing to mention, you know, how you were saying about the youth. You know, I'm still young. I'll just do the partying or whatever, and then later on, or a week from now, or a month from now, or a year from now, as if it's promised, I'll change. You know, I'll go to Hajj. I'll put on the scarf. I'll grow a beard. You know, one person that fascinates me so much. I swear, I was once sitting with a Christian friend of mine, and I'm like, this guy just, I don't know, his story just resonates in me. Is Wahab. Hello, there are two Wahabs. There's two stories, but the main one that's mentioned always is the guy was probably around 18 or 19. He had just got married, you know, and he was in his travels with his mother and his wife. Just got married. The guy's in the prime of his youth back then. He's in a tent. Imam Hussein, I believe it's something, you know, of sort of a planned thing by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, places his caravan right next to Wahab's tent, Wahab and his mother's tent, and he begins to give the sermon to the people. Wahab hears him and he goes, man, this guy is not just a nobody. He's not just anybody that's giving a speech. This is a man of God. This is a Christian man. Packs up his stuff, starts following Imam Hussein at a close distance the whole way until he comes to Imam Hussein and he speaks. They actually say there's a previous story that I was reading that someone had a dream and whatnot, and then there was water there. Imam Hussein came to his mother, I believe, or someone related to him, and he said, give something to Wahab. He was away. It was some symbol or something, or a shield or something, and then he went. When Wahab came from his travels, when he went to get water, apparently, that's the other story, he his mother goes to him, so the mum, I had a dream in my travels that the Prophet and Prophet Isa came to me, and they said, this is my Rasulullah said, this is my grandson, and you will follow him and you will meet him soon. And then she goes, a man came yesterday saying that he said your name and whatnot, and then she gave him something, and then straight away, that's the other story, and he packed his stuff and followed Imam Hussein. The main story that everyone mentions that he followed him all the way to Karbala, and then he spoke to Imam.
Okay, we are having a bit of technical difficulties. Hajj Mohammed Taleb is just basically telling us the story of Wahab and how he joined Abba Abdullah al-Hussein's army. Hopefully it doesn't take long until we reconnect, inshallah. Currently having...
They knew each other.
Sorry,
They're all
Hajj,
related somehow.
we had a bit of technical difficulties. You cut out. If you go back to the
That's
Wahhab
okay.
meeting Abba Abdullah in Karbala, that's the last you had.
Yeah. So Wahab was a Christian man. He became a Muslim man under the hands of Imam Hussein. He done his Shahada. He enters into battle. Everyone in the battlefield sort of knows each other. So when they come out and they say their name, people already know them because somehow they're related for, the Qurayshis, the backstories. They're all related somehow, or they're known. When Wahab comes out, the enemy asks, like, who is this guy? There's a kid, go back home, go to your mum. So he comes out, they send him in the first fighter, done. Second fighter, done. They're baffled. They're like, who is this guy? And then when he was acrobatic, they say he was a great horseman, great archer. And then when he's killed, they say his wife came out. They say she was one of the first martyrs. She came out with a pole, tried to fight them off, her husband, and then she became one of the first martyrs. When they killed Wahab, and after surrounding him and overpowering him, they took his head and they threw it to the camp right in front of his mother. And this just amazes me. Imagine a mother, all right? She carries her son's head, walks all the way back to the battlefield, throws her son's head back at the enemy, and she says, we do not take what we've given the Lord. We do not take back what we've given the Lord. In the name of the Lord.
Oh, subhanAllah. And you see the shuhada's mothers and the strength that they have, and everything is for the son of Fatima, subhanAllah. And that's a beautiful lesson for anyone listening to that, because it's galvanizing, it's inspiring, and it's something that, you never hold your son back if he wishes to do something that's of service to the community, or if he's wishing to do something that's a bit different, but he's got a good intention to support him because he's doing it qurbatan lillah. He wants to be a khadim of Abba Abdullah. And something, if I'm not mistaken, which I probably could be, but I don't think I am, the story of Wahab and his family goes back to Amir al-Mu'mineen as well. Because if I'm not mistaken, they were struggling to have kids. They knew Ali ibn Abi Talib was a man of God. So they went and asked through him for barakah to have children, because a lot of people struggle to have children. And Abu Abdullah happened to be near his father. And Amir al-Mu'mineen says, ask through al-Hussein. And they asked through Abu Abdullah, and that appreciation never went from them. And once they saw what you said on their journey, by no chance Abu Abdullah stopped near them. And by no chance they accepted this invitation and joined the path. SubhanAllah, bro.
No coincidence when it comes to Ahlul Bayt.
No, none at all. And talk to us about your...
Everything fits.
It does, man. Talk to us about Arba'een, your ziyarah experience. Talk to us about that and what recommendations you have to youth, because myself, I've been, alhamdulillah, the year before COVID struck, I was there on the Ashir, never done Arba'een, but talk to us about that experience.
You're burning me now, straight out. You're burning me. We have been now, if this year comes, we haven't been in 2 years, man, and I was there every year for the past 5 years. Arba'een is different to any other. Like everyone says, Sha'ban, Ramadan, and the Ashir, yeah, amazing. Arba'een is something else. Something else. If you want to see like the world unite, that's Arba'een. Like the whole world is in one place. And as tiring as it is, it's not tiring. Like you literally wish to do it over and over again. Like it's another feeling, man. Like the walk, the atmosphere, like you got all walks of earth, all flags from every country. And literally the banner is Al-Hussein wa Ajma'una. The Imam Hussein brings us together. The whole world unites for Imam Hussein. And it's something that you can't describe in words, man. It's something that you see. Like even when you see videos of it, it's not the same. Yeah, you have to be there to witness it. It's something phenomenal, like unparalleled. It's I don't even have words to say, man.
So that's the impact that has on you. It's just everyone has that, and they share that same sentiment, especially the people who go year after year, and they don't go for a year and it affects them a lot. And, myself, look, whoever knows me, I'm a very, first world problems, when I went to Iraq, yeah, if you told me that I'm going to drink a cup of tea and they're going to wash it in a bucket of water and they're going to pour it again and I'm going to have or participate in, I'll be like, yeah, right. But for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, you can't, so I had it in that Shai Abu Ali was, oh my, I haven't had better tea. Oh, every stop. What's the secret there? I was like, oh, brother Ali, I go, what are you guys putting in it? Because gold, and the Qima, I don't think Qima in Australia, I gulped that there. Anything for Abu Abdullah, the hospitality. Talk to us about that. Do you go hungry on this walk?
To be honest, I don't have a strong stomach, man. So my stomach is Aussie. So I try to avoid eating heavy there. There are certain like people, share around like on the WhatsApp groups and whatnot. They share like certain places that they know, like people that they know. But still, regardless, like you can't help but like people beg you to eat, man. Like you feel bad, like all right, khalas, done, and then you just roll with it. But the hospitality as well, man. Like when I describe it to my peeps at work, all right, and I say people literally walk up to you in a third world country begging you to eat, like begging you to eat, begging you to sleep in their house, begging to serve you, to wash your feet, to give you a massage. They're like, nah, no way. I'm telling you, I've got proof. I'll show you on my phone. It's unbelievable. But the walk, man, like you just see things that it sort of humbles you so much, like, and you appreciate where you live, but you appreciate being there at the same time, which is weird. You see people that don't have anything, man, and giving everything, which doesn't make sense, but in that domain, it makes sense. I don't know how to explain it.
You honestly can't. It's just a miracle of Abba Abdullah. You like these people, like you said, are struggling all year round, save their money just to serve the Zawar on the Arba'in or on the track, and they'd follow you and do whatever. I watched the documentary that you guys released last year, and it's like, inshallah, I'll get the opportunity to go, because I remember when I was there, I was like, the year was the following year, Arba'in, because I wanted to do Hajj before I did Ziyarah. So then, you don't know what's going to happen because COVID hit.
Exactly.
And,
but that's the thing. Like my year is khalas next year, and then you don't know what happens. I don't know how people live day to day. It's like, khalas, my intention is to change soon. But yeah, man, and I was actually speaking to one of the, sorry to cut you off, I was speaking to one of the Zawar a few days ago, and we're just reminiscing, man. And I'm like, man, I miss the group. You make this connection with the people that you're with. I might not see them every day. We might not see each other every day, but khalas, it's a spiritual connection that no one can understand. And only you understand. We can speak to each other without saying words. Like we know what we're thinking. I'll send something just randomly to that person, and they'll know automatically what I'm thinking, where I'm thinking, what I'm talking about. Because I don't know, it's close. That connection that you share is closer than blood. It's Imam Hussein.
SubhanAllah. And going back what we were talking about earlier, intention, and a lot of people will be like, okay, I don't want to, it's hard to leave my friend circles. I don't want to be a loner. Talk to us about when you take that step towards Abba Abdullah and you make that change in your life, how everything comes to you.
Taking that step, I always say to everyone that I'm having this conversation with, taking that step towards Abba Abdullah, taking that step towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you might close that door, but you closing that door, God opens 10 other doors for you. All right. But as long as you make sure you close that door, don't leave your foot in it. You leave that behind. And if it's for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and bettering yourself, I guarantee God will open 10, 100 other doors for you that are much better. You'll find better things, better people. Like a lot of people used to message me about, like, for example, jobs, certain jobs that, am I allowed to do this? This person serves alcohol and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, just trust me. it'll get to the conclusion of just trust me. You close that door, God will open a million other doors for you, and that are much better. And fast forward, that same person, they got a job that pays, 5 times more what they were getting paid, and literally a quarter of the hassle of the old job they were in. And they're very happy. They've got a family now. Yeah. So you have to find that courage to do that. I know it's not easy. A lot of people tell me, yeah, but it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. It's very, very, very hard. But at the same time, just like you, Hajj, and like me, we don't lose ourselves. For some reason, everyone thinks I'm this like grouch and I don't have a social life and I'm very always serious. No. No one's, trust me, no one's more of a clown than I am. But, everything has its place. I can't be a clown at, a majlis, but close friends that know me know that I'm always joking around. I'm always mucking around. I'm not very serious. I don't think I'm serious at all most of the time.
100%. It's a sign of religiosity, to be of someone of small, good character, good nature, infectious, look, like you said, but there's a time and place, because you can't be doing that in certain areas like we can't as well, and it's sad because it goes to what you're saying is everything's got to be, actions has to be qurbatan lillah. If it's 99% Allah and 1% someone else, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, give them all of it because I don't want anything to do with it. And even when we look at Al-Hurr, when Al-Hurr, before he makes that change, he says those famous lines, أَمَتَخَيْرُ نَفْسِ بَيْنَ خَيَارَيْن بَيْنَ الجَّنَّةِ وَالنَّارِ وَهَيْهَاتْ مِنَ النَّارِ. Never will he choose hell over heaven. He was struggling. Wasn't the easiest of choice, because you got to remember, his best mate was Umar ibn Sa'ad. Hurr was one of the bravest men in Kufa. He wasn't some chicken that many other people were. A lot of figures in Islamic history were good at running away, but that wasn't the case with Hurr. He makes that change, and Abu Abdullah's first words were, if it's qurbatan lillah, accepted, welcome. If it's God consciousness, and that's what everyone's move has to be. It's God conscious, and God will open the path. And if you're inspired by the message of Abu Abdullah, of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open the path for you.
With Hurr, I have this like thing, man, like a lot of people use Hurr as a scapegoat for mistakes that they do. All right. A lot of people say, oh, but Hurr done all this, and then he was forgiven. No. You got to understand, Hurr was, first of all, he was doing his job. He was a general in the army, just like you are, let's say these days, as a police officer, or you're in the army, but he was doing his job. The focal point here is that he knew who Imam Hussein was, all right? And he did not know what they were going to do with Imam Hussein. He was just following orders. But then when he found out what these guys were planning, because he joined Imam Hussein in prayer, and he was blasted by Umar al-Sa'd, like, what are you doing? Not supposed to be praying, not supposed to be sort of making these people feel sorry for, because you're saying praying with them, like there's a problem there. For us, we need our guys on our side to hate this guy enough to kill him and his whole family. So Hurr knew who Imam Hussein was, because you understand that in the words that are said to him when Imam Hussein tells him, "Thaqalatka ummuk," may your mother weep over you. And then Hurr replies to him going, I can't say that to you. And he goes to him, why? He goes, because your mother is Fatima Zahra. So he knew that he had respect for Imam Hussein, he had respect for Ahlul Bayt, but at the same time he was doing his job. He was ordered to redirect Imam Hussein from where he was going from going to Kufa to coming to Karbala. And he saw the character of Imam Hussein as well. He's not there to start trouble, because he literally gave up his water so Hurr's men and his horses can drink before Imam Hussein and his men drink. When they came and they cut them off. And 100%. When they got to Karbala, that's when he saw what was happening and what they were about to do. And then he realized that, no, I'm not with this at all. Like, and that's the difference between, we shouldn't compare a lot of the guys that compare themselves with Hurr. It's a big mistake, because he knew he was just doing his job, but he didn't do anything wrong until the time of that wrong, he's like, no, I'm choosing between heaven and hell, and I do not choose hell at all. And at the end of the day, he knew that Imam Hussein is heaven.
Yeah, and even one of the biggest lessons I've taken in my life from Al-Hur's story was when he first intercepted Abu Abdullah, and it came the time of Salah. And Abu Abdullah tells him to lead the Salah. And for me, growing up, I always realized that mosques in certain places, one guy goes to pray, the whole world runs. And when I'm praying Jama'ah, I'm praying because it's one of the times Jibreel envies a human because of the barakah of the Jama'ah prayers. So I'm doing that for, obviously, to try and get close to God. I don't really care who the person is, to be fair. I'm not going to look into you, and I don't want to look into you because religion says to give you 7 excuses. You don't have an excuse, make an excuse for you, and it's always about pardoning. But for me, there's a lot of people that claim to be in a monotheistic religion, one God, one Ilah, one Maliki Yawmiddin, but Allahu Akbar. Got a lot of judges out there. So I take that from Al-Hur's story. And like you said, Al-Hur was always good. And a lot of people say that, he was probably on the wrong path. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, shows you the path. His niyyah was there. He was potential. And Abu Abdullah actualized that potential and bring the best out of you. So you people who claim to be like Hur will actualize your potential and use the message of Abu Abdullah and let Imam Hussein, this day and age, get the best out of you and come back to the path. Ask questions, read, be active. I'll never forget Sayyid al-Qaid in Iran. There was a guy who came, he was in the university, and he was scolding him. He was telling him of how bad the state of the country is and how the resources aren't reaching the people and yada, yada, yada. And I was really interested to see the response because I'm like, all right, this guy's got back in, he's not a dumb bloke. He knows what he's talking about. So Al-Qaid told him, he's like, okay, the country's in good hands because we've got youth like you. Now, you gave me all problems. Next week, you're going to come and sit with me. I want you to come up with solutions and let's see how we can better these circumstances that we're in.
See, that's true leadership. That's it. Like, even as us, the grown-ups in the community, that's how we should help our youth. Like, even in the state at the end, when Imam Hussein tells them in the night, he tells them, like, they're only after me. They won't chase you guys. Go in the night, I'm letting you go. You're free to go. That's the solution. You're free to go. And they're like, no, we'll never leave you. What's the point? What's the point of being in a world without you? They understood that this leader is everything to them. They knew who their Imam was. And that's why they had that strong stance that we need our youth to understand who their Imam is. They need to read. They need to get into it. Speak to others. Make groups. It's not embarrassing. That's the problem. A lot of a majority of the youth make this very embarrassing. That's why a lot of the kids are like, I don't want to really go there. These guys are a bit too much or extreme. What's extreme? What's extreme about it? It's extreme in this world, like amongst the kufr and the
100%,
that we see these days.
Yeah, we live in an atheist-driven society where pornography is 60 to 70% of the internet, and we live in a sexualized society, and people are going astray because of the environment. And especially if you've inherited religion, you don't actually know why you're believing in what you're believing, you're going to fall into a lot of traps that society has set for you. And it's by no surprise the first verse in all the Abrahamic faiths are around Iqra, read in the name of your Lord who created you. You look in Al-Kafi, intellect is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed Bani Adam, min ahsani taqween. I'm sure the dinosaurs, like I've always say, were stronger than us in build and stature. They didn't have the intellect. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with. We need to use that though, because we can either take that and be greater than the angels, or we can be lower than the animals, depending on how you use that. And I'm big on mental health, bro. And a lot of the boys, they struggle to talk about their struggles or why they fall into certain paths or why they do such things. And you need to talk out because, look, growing up, the elders, God bless them, they've provided for us, but they were big and they shut you down if you ever asked the question. I will tell you
See,
how stupid that question is. And sorry, yeah, what were you saying?
Sorry to cut you off. That's where Imam Ali's hadith about don't raise your children like sorry, I'm paraphrasing, like you were raised, you know, because they're built for a different generation. That's where that basically hadith that falls into place, where, you know, we got new struggles, we got new things happening. You guys back in your day, you know, you're living on a farm, everything's cool, everything's calm. You don't have that mental stress, you don't have that depression. But back in their days, I don't think they used to believe in anything called depression and mental health, anything like that, anxiety. You know, they didn't have the same struggles that we have. Every as I said before, every person, every timeline has a different struggle, and that's what they don't understand. And I'm with you 100%, man.
100%.
A lot of people.
And this is why we're chatting today, and we came on the podcast and we're discussing. Yeah, the message is Abba Abdullah, and when you listen to this podcast, you're going to hear a lot of stories, and you might put some things together. You might have learned something, but the main goal is, you know, to reach out, to try and actualize your potential, to be the best version of yourself, and at the end of the day, to speak out. If you don't speak out, you're going to be in a continuous state of ignorance. That's a hadith I'm paraphrasing from the Holy Prophet. So you have social media. Let's use our social media accounts to follow positive pages, positive influencers. And you know what? Be a troll like myself. Message these people. Hustle. Try and get them on. Try and get them to answer your questions. You know, they don't answer your question, go to the next person. Show myself and Hajj Mohammed are always happy to ask, and we'll connect you with whoever we can, because that's the type of people we have to be.
If I tell everyone all the time, if they ask me a question, I don't know how to answer that. You know, I'll get back to you. I'll speak to my friend. He's a sheikh. He can give me the right answer. If he can't give me the right answer, he get it to me from someone in Iran or Iraq or whatever. But we need to help people like that. And a lot of people get lazy and like, oh, I can't be bothered, you know. Now I have to do this and do that. But, you know, we're not helping by doing that. And again, we're alienating these people.
100%.
Where they're like, you know what, I don't want anything to do with this anymore.
100%. And look, this was, you know, the discussion that you guys now have a bit more of an insight into the struggles that we've had and overcame, and Hajj Mohammed, how he used his past to push him and motivate him and lead him, inshallah, to continuous service and be a khadim of Abba Abdullah al-Hussein. Talk to us about your program this year. Where will you be? How can people talk to you, listen to you over the next couple of nights? You know, where are you doing it?
We will be at Banksia, not everyone else, which I know it's annoying and I know it's heartbreaking, and a lot of people think that we're stopping them from coming to Majlis. No, we love, you know, people being there to listen to the Majlis. It's literally our pride and joy to see so many faces in the Majlis, to see so many tears in the Majlis amongst us. But, you know, it is what it is. And we're going to be live on at Husseini to say the Zainab. I'll be live on my Instagram, and I believe it's Lof might have the program running through them. And on Facebook, it's Husseini to say the Zainab a page in Banksia. I believe that's it.
Barakallahu feekum. You do know I had on the 1st of Muharram, we had Brother Ali on from Lof, and you do know I got what Lof means out of him. I know it's a bit of a secret. Whoever watched the episode knows what it stands for. Was that public knowledge, or did I do well to get it out?
No, it's not public knowledge. I still don't know what it means.
Oh, okay. Well, look, you're going to have to re-watch episode 1. I got him to say what it meant. So, no, honestly, Hajj, thank you. Ajarakum Allah. Inshallah, a lifetime of continuous service and sadaqah jariyah for yourself and your progeny. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast. And
it was a pleasure being on here.
No, thank you. You've been too humble like all you guys are. And watch out for your social medias. Inshallah, the majalis are streamed. You know, we are blessed. I know it's tough times in this lockdown and COVID, but there were times in oppressors who stopped the majalis and nobody could reach or have access to these majalis. So alhamdulillah, we have this. We have many platforms that are serving our master and Sayyid al-Shuhada, Abba Abdullah al-Hussein. Thank you for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.